VLAN configuration using router. Today in this lecture we are going to use Cisco Packet Tracer application to configure VLAN setup, but that will be implemented on router. Let us understand why do we use VLAN. A VLAN allows different computers and devices to be connected virtually to each other as if they were in a LAN sharing a single broadcast domain. VLAN can help reduce IT cost, improve network security and performance, provide easier management as well as ensuring network flexibility. VLANs allow network administrators to automatically limit access to a specified group of users by dividing workstations into different isolated LAN segments. When users move their workstations, administrators do not need to reconfigure the network or change VLAN group. Let us understand why do we need to use VLAN by this diagram. You can watch this diagram. There are two separate setups created for accounts department and sales department. Assume in a particular organization there are two separate departments. One is account department and the other is sales department, and there are employees who are working in both the departments. So there are 3 computers in accounts department and other 3 computers are connected in sales department. So to maintain the data security and integrity, we have used 2 separate switch to connect each department computers, so that accounts department computers and the data inside those computers will not be shared with the sales department, and the data of the sales department's computer will not be accessed by the accounts department. To maintain this security and integrity, we have purchased 2 separate switch and connected those computers separately. But it takes lot of money out of the organization, because if assume there are 10 or 20 departments, then you have to purchase that many numbers of switches. So by using VLAN we can eliminate this cost. By using one particular switch we can virtually domain separate VLAN, and by that way we can also reduce the cost of the organization. Let us understand. Observe this diagram. One switch has been used to connect all 6 computers, but the security and data integrity has been maintained properly by using VLAN. By using VLAN, the port has been separated under different virtual domain, so that accounts department data will not be accessed by the sales department employees, and sales department data will not be accessed by the account department's employee, but they have used a single switch. By this way the cost has been eliminated of the organization. But assume there are some requirement where some data of accounts department has to be communicated with the sales department, and sales department some particular data also need to be sent to account department. But how will this be possible? Because as we have separated the domain, any single data will not be accessed by each other department. So to solve the problem we have to use router. By using router we can send specific data of each department to other department. So what will be the concept of using router and implementing VLAN that we are going to learn in this session. Observe this diagram. We have connected the router to the switch, and now assume a certain requirement arises that accounts department has to send some particular data to sales department. How will that be possible? By using router. They can send email. By email they can use the internet facility, and by that they can send any data to the sales department, as well as sales department employees can also send their data through email to the accounts department. By using FTP or any certain other protocol they can access the internet facility, and by accessing the internet facility they can able to send their limited data to each other departments. But the local data will still be kept secret. The local data of sales department will never be accessed by the accounts department, and the same of the accounts department local data will never going to be accessed by the sales department. But certain data which are need to be communicated by both the department, they can do that by using the internet facility, and for that we need to connect a router to the particular switch. And assume you also can save the cost of router, because assume there are 10 departments. So to connect 10 departments with router, we need to have 10 different router ports. So that means each router only have two interface. Interface means where we can connect the cable. So for connecting 10 separate department to router, we need to purchase 5 separate router. But using VLAN, only a single port virtually will be divided into 10 separate interface. By using that, we can also eliminate the cost of router. Let us understand how we can able to configure VLAN setup on router, and how we are going to virtually separate one single physical interface into an unlimited number of virtual port. Let us understand this using the Cisco Packet Tracer application. So this is the Cisco Packet Tracer application. At our right we have these tools, at our bottom left corner we have the networking devices. So let me take some computers that I will get from this end devices panel. So I will take 3 computers here. I have taken 3 computers. I will take a switch. So I have taken a switch. Let me connect 3 computers with this particular switch. So from the connection tab I will take a cable, that is straight cable. So there are 24 ports in the switch. I will connect the cable to the first port. Another end I will connect to the LAN port of the switch. Let me take another cable. Here I will connect to the second port of the switch. Other end of the port I will connect with this computer LAN port. I will take another cable, and this cable I will connect to the third port of the switch. Other end of the cable I will connect here with the LAN port of the switch. So I have connected 3. All these 3 computers are, let us assume these 3 computers belongs to accounts department. So these 3 computers are belonging to the accounts department. Let us take another 3 computers. I have taken another 3 computers. So these 3 computers are belonging to the sales department. Let me first connect with cable. So already 3 port has been occupied by these 3 computers. I will connect this cable here to the computer LAN port. Another port I will use fast Ethernet 05 for connecting this PC4, and another cable I will use fast Ethernet 06. I will connect here to this LAN port. Okay, and these 3 computers are belonging to the sales department. Okay, now all these 6 computers are connected to a single switch. Now first I will virtually break this switch into 2 separate VLAN. To do that, I need to configure the switch. For that I will take a laptop. So I have taken a laptop. I will connect laptop with the switch for configuration, so that I can able to access the hardware interface of the switch. To do that, I need to use this console cable from the connection tab. So this console cable I will connect one end to the RS232 port. One end of the console cable I have connected to the RS232 port of the laptop. Other end of the console cable I will connect here to the console port of the switch. So now I will be able to access the hardware interface of the switch from the screen of the laptop. So let me open the laptop screen, desktop, terminal. I will keep all the parameters as default it is. So let me start the configuration. So now I will access the hardware interface of the switch. You can watch out switch. The switch is in disable mode. I will convert it to enable. ENABLE. Now the symbol has been changed because the switch is now enabled. I will move to configuration mode. Configure terminal. So this command I have used, that is configure terminal. So you can watch out, after using this command we have moved to the configuration mode. You can observe the symbol has been changed. Switch followed by config hash. That means we are in configuration mode. So now we are going to configure. So what I will do, first I will create 2 separate VLAN. So VLAN, the command is VLAN followed by the VLAN ID. So the VLAN ID I have provided 10. So you can watch out, the symbol has been changed. That means this VLAN has been created successfully, and we have moved to that particular VLAN that we have just now created. Let me exit out EXIT. So I have exited out of this particular VLAN. Now watch out. Now I am in the configuration mode. So I will create another VLAN 20. So the ID of the VLAN is 20. This is the command VLAN followed by the ID. Any ID you can provide as per your wish. Observe, now I successfully have created that VLAN and I have moved to that VLAN. I will again write the exit command, exit. So I moved out from that particular VLAN. Now I am in configuration mode. Okay, so I have created 2 VLAN, and let us observe how many VLAN we have created. So now I am in just enable mode. I have used the exit command to move out from the configuration mode. Here I will watch the VLAN, show VLAN. Using the show VLAN command, I will just observe the new VLAN which just now I have created. You can observe these 2 VLAN I have just now created, but you can see the default VLAN. So each and every switch there are a default VLAN. All those 24 ports are by default belonging to the default VLAN. Now I will shift 3 ports, that is fast Ethernet 01, 02 and 03. These 3 ports I will move from default VLAN to this particular VLAN ID 10 which just now I have created, and this 3 ports fast Ethernet 04, fast Ethernet 05, fast Ethernet 06 to this particular VLAN, that is ID of VLAN 10. So this 6 switch I will shift from this default VLAN to this 2 VLAN. Why? Because I have created the setup where these 3 computers of accounts department are connected with port number 1, 2, 3, and these 3 computers of sales department are connected with the port number 4, 5, 6. That is why I have created 2 VLAN, and I will shift this 6 ports to this 2 VLAN. Let us start configuration. So again I will move to the configuration mode, configure terminal. So I am in configuration mode. So what I will do, I will change the interface. So for that I have to move and select the interface fast Ethernet 01. Watch, observe the terminal. So I have selected this interface now. That is why the command has been changed. You can observe the terminal switch followed by config if. What I will do now, I will move this to the newly created VLAN. For that, switch port mode access, the command that will be used, switch port mode access. So first I have accessed that particular VLAN. After that I have used the command switch port mode access. This command will be used to shift the VLAN. So now switch port access VLAN 10. So I have first accessed this particular VLAN. After that I am going to hold that particular VLAN access and changing that VLAN to the newly created VLAN, that is change. Ignore these few lines over here and also ignore these few lines over here. So this command will be followed by this command, and that will be followed by this command. Okay, so I have successfully shifted this particular port. You can watch the color of the port was previously green, but now it has changed to orange. Why? Because I have shifted this particular port where this computer is connected to a newly created VLAN. So that is why again the MAC registration process is taking place, because the MAC registration process was previously assigned to the default VLAN, but now I have created 2 separate VLAN, and against the newly separated VLAN, this port where this particular port is belong to a newly separated VLAN, and this computer is connected to that port. That is why again re-registration of MAC table is happening. Okay, we have successfully able to shift fast Ethernet 01 to this particular port has been successfully shifted to this VLAN. Okay, now I will exit out from this interface. Observe, now I am in configuration mode. Now I will again move to fast Ethernet 02, followed by switch port mode access, and followed by VLAN 20. So now what I am doing, I just have switched this port, that is port number 2, under the VLAN 10. Again I will exit out, and now I will again go to the fast Ethernet 03. After that I will use this command switch port mode access, and I will shift this to VLAN 10. Okay, all these computers of accounts department has been successfully shifted to the VLAN 10. Let us observe EX. So I will now move out the configuration mode. Again I will move out to the enable mode. So now I just am in enable mode. Let me check. So VLAN. So by using this command so VLAN, we can check the status. Observe these 3 ports which was previously there in the default VLAN. Now those 3 ports have been successfully shifted to the VLAN 10. Observe. Okay, now these 3 ports I am going to shift from the default VLAN to this particular VLAN, that is 20, VLAN 20. Let us do that. Again, enable, it is already enabled, so configure terminal, let me choose the interface. So now I am accessing this port where this computer is connected, that is interface fast Ethernet 04. Okay, so switch port mode access followed by the VLAN. So this port will be shifted to the VLAN 20. Okay, and let me move out by exit button. Okay, now I am in configuration mode. Again I will select this port and switch port mode access. Again I will shift this port to VLAN 20. Again I will move out and I will again go to this particular port, that is 6, this port where this PC5 is connected, and this port I will move to VLAN 20. So observe, this 3 port has been successfully shifted to the VLAN 20. Let us observe, exit from, so I have exited out from the interface. I will now exit out from the configuration mode. Now I am in enable mode. I will check show VLAN. Watch, by using the show VLAN command I can check the status. By using the show VLAN command I can able to check the status. Observe, now in default VLAN there are only 18 ports starting from fast Ethernet 07 to fast Ethernet 024. 3 ports have been successfully shifted to this VLAN and another 3 ports have been successfully shifted to the VLAN 20. Okay, you can observe this thing. So now what I will be doing, I will assign the IP address for these computers. So whatever configuration I have done, all this data setup are in temporary memory. So I have to save this data to the permanent memory. For that I will use the write command, WRITE. Write command will be applicable on the enable mode. Remember, the write command will be only applicable on the enable mode. So now I am in enable mode, so I have used the write command to save all the temporary data in the permanent memory. Okay, let me assign the IP address for these 6 computers. So the IP address that I am going to assign over here is 10.20.1.2, 10.20.1.2. So let me write the IP that I have provided for the system, 10.20.1.2, 10.20.1.3, 10.20.1.3. Okay, now 10.20.1.4. So I will assign 10.20.1.4 for this computer. Observe, 10.20.1.4. Okay, so observe, all these computers are in same network but host address is separate. Now I will connect and assign IP address to these 3 sales computer. Observe, 10.20.20.1.2. 20.20.1.2. So this is IP address 20.20.1.2. Okay, and PC4 IP address will be 20.20.1.3. Let me write down the IP address over here, 20.20.1.3, and IP address for this PC6 will be 20.20.1.4. Okay, so 20.20.1.4. So observe closely that so these 3 computers are belonging to a separate network. Why? Because we are going to use router, and in router both the port will never going to have same network. So as I will virtually separate router single port into multiple port, each port will be connected to a separate network. We are going to learn how we can eliminate the cost of IT in a business unit. So instead of using 2 separate switch, we just have used 1 switch, and we may have multiple network IDs, but we are going to use single router to connect all those multiple network in a single router. Let us observe. So I will take a router. So now I have taken a router. Let me use the state copper wire. Here I will use the state copper wire. I will connect here this state cable to this port. Let me use the port number 24. So remember, I have used the port number 24. Okay, so we are going to configure this router. Before that, let me create some more VLAN. So again I will connect, I will take 3 computers. Okay, let me create 2 separate VLAN. There will be 4 VLAN, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. Let me erase 1 computer. Okay, so now I will connect cable to the 6 computers. So wrong cable that I have chosen. So this port number 7 will be connected here, this port will be connected over here. Let me connect all the ports one by one. Okay, port number 10 will be connected over here, and port number 11 will be connected over here. This is port number 12, that is connected over here. Okay, so slowly I have connected here all the ports. I will create 4 separate VLANs. So let me create another 2 VLANs. So observe, enable, configure terminal. I'll create 2 more VLANs. So VLAN 30 is created, and let me exit. Again I will create VLAN 40. Let me exit. So 2 more VLAN that I have created. Let me check, observe, show VLAN. So VLAN, observe, another 2 VLAN that I have created, 30 and 40. Now I am going to assign another 6 port to these 2 VLAN. Okay, configure terminal and interface FA. So I will use the range command, range fast Ethernet 07 fast Ethernet 07 to fast Ethernet 09. So this 3 port I am using the range command to shift this 3 port to a separate VLAN. So now I have selected all these 3 port using the range command. You can observe here the command line has been changed, switch config if range. So I am using the range command here. So I have selected all these 3 port number 7, port number 8 and port number 9. So these 3 port I will change to a separate VLAN. Switch port mode access, switch port access VLAN 30. So those 3 port I have shifted together to the VLAN ID 30. So exit. Again I will use the range command. So interface range fast Ethernet 010 to fast Ethernet 0112. So again I have selected port number 10, 11 and 12, and I will shift all those 3 port to the VLAN 40. Observe. So let me move out to check. Exit. I have moved out from the config mode and show VLAN. Observe. So you can see I have shifted port number 7, 8, 9 to this VLAN 30 and port number 10, 11 and 12 to the VLAN 40. So observe the default VLAN, the number that is starting from 13. So I have created separate 4 VLAN and I have assigned 3 port to each VLAN. Okay, let me save using the write command. I will apply the write command over the enable mode. So now I am in enable mode. I will save all the data in the permanent memory. Exit. Okay, I will now assign the IP address for the 6 computers. Okay, we can also use the DHCP. Let me use DHCP to assign IP address for the 6 computers. Okay, so from the end device I will select the DHCP server. I will take 2 DHCP server because these 6 computer will be assigned 2 networking IP addresses. So that is why to obtain IP addresses of 2 separate networking, I have to use 2 separate DHCP server. From each server 3 computer will assign IP addresses. So let us connect this to server with this switch. So using the straight cable I will connect and see fast Ethernet 13. I will take this cable, I will connect here, fast Ethernet 14. So from this server, let's assume these 3 computers will be provided with IP addresses, and from this server these 3 computers will be provided with the IP addresses. So this is connected with the port number 13 and this is connected with the port number 14. So let me reconnect. Why actually I am reconnecting to be confirmed at which port I am connecting. So port number 13 is connected here and the port number 14 is connected over here. So now I will assign the IP address here. So what IP address I am going to assign? 30 20 1 1 and okay, so 2 30 20 1 2 30 20 1 2. So this is the static address for this server 30 20 1 2, and I will create the DHCP pool. Under the config menu, here is the DHCP. I will first put on the service. The service was previously switched off. I have switched on the service, and the IP 30.20.1.2 and the IP of the server 30.20 and 1.3. So the DHCP pool will have the starting IP address of 30.20.1.3 because 30.20.1.2 that has been occupied, and 30.20.1.1 that particular IP I will use to configure the router. That is why the starting IP address of the DHCP server will be 30.20.1 and 30.20.1.3. Let me save the settings. Okay, so I have successfully saved these settings. Now I will assign IP address to this DHCP server. The static IP address will be 40.20.1.2, and I will create the DHCP pool, DHCP. So the service I will put the service on, and I will assign the starting IP as 40.20.1 and 3. Why? I will save this first. See, 40.20.1 and 3. So watch out over here. 40.20.1.2 has been used as static IP address for this server itself. That is why the database and the DHCP pool which I am creating, the DHCP pool will consisting of the IP addresses that will be start from 40.20.1.3. So it will be followed sequential number, that 40.20.1.3, then 40.20.1.4, then 1.5. It will follow sequentially. So the maximum number of users that will be able to access IP address from this server is 512. So 512, that is the maximum number of users who can access IP address dynamically from this DHCP server. Okay, but we just have to assign IP addresses over here in these 3 computers. So let me try to obtain IP addresses for these 3 computers connected with this DHCP server. Okay, observe one thing. Now I will use the DHCP option. See, DHCP requesting for IP address, it will be failed soon. Observe. So it is still requesting. DHCP server failed. Why? This computer is unable to access the IP address from this DHCP server. There is one reason. Why? Because the cable, this particular cable is connected with the port number 13, and the port number 13, you can watch out over here. Observe, the port number 13 is belong under the default VLAN. The port number 13 where this cable of DHCP server is connected belongs to the default VLAN, but these 3 computers belongs to the 30 VLAN. So observe, the port number 789 belongs to the 30 VLAN ID. So VLAN ID is 30, but this particular port is belonging to the default VLAN. So what I need to do, I have to change this port where this cable is connected under the 30 VLAN. So I will do this configuration. Observe, enable, configure, terminal, interface. I have selected the port number 13. So I will now shift switch port, mode, access, switch port, access, VLAN 30. So now I am shifting this port. This port was previously belonging to the default VLAN. Now I am shifting this port to the VLAN ID 30 where those 3 computers are belonging with. So exit. Okay, now observe, this server is connected to the port number 14. Port number 14 is belonging to the default VLAN, but these 3 computers are connected with the port that is port number 10, 11 and 12. Those 3 ports are belonging to the 40 VLAN. So I also need to shift this port where this cable is connected, that is port number 14, under the 40 VLAN. Okay, observe. So interface FA014. Now this particular port I will shift switch port, mode, access, switch port, access, VLAN 40. So okay, exit, show VLAN, observe. So fast Ethernet 13 has been shifted to VLAN 30, and fast Ethernet 14 also has been shifted to VLAN 40. Why? Let me save this. Okay, because this server has to be assigned under the VLAN 40, because all these three computers are also under VLAN 40, because all those 4 ports, you can watch out over here, port number 9, 10, 11 are under VLAN 40. So that is why the server which is connected with the port number 14 has to be assigned under the under the VLAN 40. Then only the server will be able to communicate with those 3 computers. So okay, now you can observe from DHCP server, this computer has successfully obtained the IP address, because this port has been shifted with the same VLAN where these 3 computers are belonging to. So 30.21.4. okay, observe 30.21.5. you can observe 30.21.3. so these 3 computers have successfully obtained the IP address dynamically from this server, and this 3 computer will obtain the IP address from this server. Observe, watch out, see. So observe 40.21 and 4 and DHCP 40.21.5. so these 3 computers have successfully obtained the IP address from this particular server. Okay, now we will start configuring this router. So we have now 4 network. Let us write that this is a student department. This is a organization, teaching organization, where there are accounts department, sales department, student department, and another department, let me name it as teacher. So teachers department. So teachers department have these 3 computers, student department have these 3 computers. All these computers have obtained the IP address dynamically from the DHCP servers, these 6 computers, and these 6 computers are assigned with static IP address. Okay, so there are 4 separate networks. So the network, let me write down the network address 30.21.3. So you can see 30.21.3. So I'll write the IP address 30.21.5. So I am writing out the IP address so that it will be easy for us to understand later. 30.21.4. So the IP address 40.21.5. Okay, and 40.21.4. the IP address of this computer is 40.21.4. let us check 40.21.4. the IP address of this computer will be 40.21.3. so 40.21.3. so okay, I have written the IP addresses of all the computers so that it will be easy for us to remember later. So now we can see there are 4 separate computers, and we just have 2 ports in router. So how we are going to connect all those 4 ports in each single router? That is why we have used VLAN, because we just need one single port. You can see we have connected one single port. If we had to connect all those computers which are belonging to 4 separate networks, physically we would have required 2 separate routers. Why? Because each router only have 2 interface ports, so not more than 2 network we can able to connect with the single router, and for that we also had required 4 separate switch and 2 routers. So for connecting 4 separate network physically, we would have required 4 switches and 2 routers. Okay, but in this case we just have used 1 switch and 1 router. Let us understand how we are going to configure the router using the VLAN. So just observe. So I will take a laptop. So I have taken a laptop. To connect this laptop with this router, I need the console cable. So I have connected the console cable with the router console port. Another end of the console cable I have connected with the RS232 port. So through this router I am going to access the hardware interface of the router, and after that I will configure the interface port. So you can observe this cable is connected to the fast Ethernet 00 port of the router, and that single port will be subdivided into 4 separate VLAN to connect 4 separate computers network. By this way we can eliminate the IT cost of the organization. So observe. So from this desktop screen I am going to access the router hardware interface. So desktop terminal, enable configure terminal. I will access the interface. Which interface? Fast Ethernet 0x0x0. So I have accessed the interface fast Ethernet 0x0. That means this particular port I have used to connect this cable. So that particular port I will be configuring. Observe. So what I will do, first I will apply the no shutdown command. No shutdown. Why? I have discussed several times in earlier 2 videos where I have taught you how to configure router, that the interface port of the router is shut down by default. By using the no shutdown command, I have to open up the port which is already being shut down. That is by default the interface port of the router is kept shut down. I will use the no shutdown command to open up that shutted port. So by using the no shutdown command I have made this port alive. You can watch, you can observe that this port has come to life, because previously the color of this port was red, but now the color has been changed to green because this port has been alive. What I will be doing over here, I will divide that port into separate sub interface. So to do that, observe, I will first move out, exit. Now I am back to configuration mode. Again I will move to the sub interface mode. Interface FA 0x0. So 0x0, this is the interface, but I will be creating sub interface. For doing that I will use dot. See, 0/0. So the name of the interface is fast Ethernet 0/0. In this particular physical sub interface I am going to create virtual interface. For that I have to provide value for the interface. Let me put the value 10. So I have created a sub interface. The value of the sub interface is fast Ethernet 0x0.10. So in single physical interface I have created one sub interface. So now I am going to assign IP address for that sub interface. Before providing IP address, I have to shift this sub interface under a separate VLAN, because this router is under the default VLAN. So now I will change this port from the default VLAN to the newly VLAN that I will create. Let us do that. Encapsulation.1q. So this is the command that will be used to shift a particular port, a particular virtual port, to a newly created VLAN. So the VLAN that I am going to connect this is with the VLAN ID 10, because I will connect the mapping position of this sub interface with the accounts department. The accounts department is belonging to the VLAN ID 10. That is why this particular sub interface I have assigned with the same VLAN ID. Okay, now I will assign the IP address. So let me provide the IP address 10.20.1.1. So 10.21.1. This will be the IP address followed by the default subnet 255.0.0.0. Okay. So I have successfully assigned the IP address for this sub interface. Okay. Now let me exit out from the sub interface. So I am in configuration mode. Now I will create another sub interface. So interface FA 0x0 dot, let me provide the value 20. So 0x0.20. So another sub interface I have created. Observe here the terminal line. The line has been changed to router followed by config sub interface sub IF. Okay. So now I will shift this particular sub interface to a separate VLAN. Okay. For that the command that will be used is encapsulation followed by .q operator. So .q, this particular command will help to shift this sub interface to a separate VLAN. So which VLAN? VLAN 20. So VLAN ID that I would like to assign for this sub interface is 20. Why? Because sales department are connected with the VLAN 20 of the switch, and this 3 computer port will be mapped with the sub interface, that is fast Ethernet 0/0.20. Okay, now I will assign the IP address. The IP address must belong to these 3 computers. So just watch the network address for these 3 computers, 20. So 20 is the network address for these 3 computers, and these 3 computers are connected with the port, that is fast Ethernet 0456 of the switch, and this port will be mapped with the sub interface fast Ethernet 00.20 of the router, and the IP address that will be used must belong to a same network with these 3 computers. So 20.20.1.1 followed by the subnet 255.0.0.0. okay, this command will be used with the IP address command. IP address 20.20.1.1 followed by 255.0.0.0. okay, exit. So let me repeat the process for this other network. Observe interface fast Ethernet 0/0.30, because you can see the network ID is 30. The VLAN ID for these 3 computers were connected with the switch is also 30. So I will map this 3 computer port with the sub interface. So encapsulation .q 30. So this port has been successfully shifted to the VLAN ID 30. Now I will provide the IP address, that is 30.20.1.1 30.20.1.1. okay, followed by subnet, followed by the subnet. Okay, exit. Again interface fast interface 0.40, another sub interface that I have created, that is 0/0.40, because these 3 computers of teacher VLAN will be mapped with the sub interface of the router. So observe encapsulation .q command followed by the VLAN ID 40, and now I will provide the IP address for this sub interface, that will be 40.20.1.1 followed by subnet. okay, exit. Let me save, exit. okay, so route, you can observe by this command that I have used, show running configuration. So running configuration, by this command you can watch out that this is the physical interface fast Ethernet 00. Under this physical interface, what I have done, I have created here, observe, see, I have created this sub interface fast Ethernet 00.10. so here I have assigned this IP address, and fast Ethernet 00.20 I have assigned this IP address. So you can watch out, these are the running configuration, you can check out. okay, so IP route, so you can also check out using the show IP route command, so where you can check the sub interface which was created here, directly connected. Here you can check out, this is the networking address. So this networking address 10.0.0.0, these are the networking address, as it is written gateway of last report is not being set. So watch out, this networking address is directly connected over here to this port sub interface we just now have created. okay, now using a single port of the router I have connected 4 separate networks. That is how I have saved the cost of the organization. Otherwise, if we had to connect physically without using the VLAN setup, we would have required 2 router and 4 switch for connecting 4 separate network. So that is how using VLAN we can connect several network with the router single port, and also we can ensure data security and integrity. local data will not be exchanged in VLAN setup because the domain has been separated into separate VLAN. So, and also we can send using separate protocol required data through the router from one domain broadcast VLAN to a separate domain broadcast VLAN. So now let us provide the gateway. We already have discussed that the concept of gateway. So the sub interface that I provided here will be the gateway for the computers in this network. So now I will provide the gateway. The gateway for these three computers will be 10.21.1. Why? Because the sub interface gateway that I have created. Observe that I have created the sub interface FA 0 by 0 10. So for this dot 10. So we have created this sub interface. Observe. So this will be the gateway. So this three computers is mapped with this sub interface of the router. So this will be the gateway, and for this sub interface, this is another sub interface I have created for the accounts for the sales department. The gateway will be to observe. This is I have created for the accounts department, and this is I have prepared for the sales department. Observe, and another I have created for student. So this is 30. You can watch out the sub interface is just now I have created, and this is of the teachers. This is 40. This will be 40. Observe. So this will be used as a gateway for this respective computer. So for account department, the router sub interface which was created is FA 00.10, and the IP address that I have provided 10.21.1. So this will be the gateway. 10.21.1 will be the gateway for all these three computers of the sales department. 10.21.1 and 10.21.1. So observe. For sales department, router sub interface port first Ethernet 00.20 was mapped, and the IP address was assigned, that is 20.21.1. So 20.21.1. So this will be the gateway access for these three computers. 20.21.1. These three computers will have that same gateway. Observe 20.21.1 and 30.21.1 for these three computers. I have created first Ethernet 00.30 for this router sub interface, and IP address I have assigned to that sub interface is 30.21.1. So that will be used as the gateway for these three computers. So as I have used a DHCP, I have to provide the gateway here at the DHCP. So I will first provide the static gateway for the DHCP, and the same I will provide to this database, so that system will those three system will be able to access the gateway from this DHCP server. Observe. I will again try to obtain IP address. Check successfully assigned with the gateway. You can check out from server, it has successfully assigned with the gateway. Observe. So gateway has been assigned successfully from the DHCP server. Same process I will repeat here, because this three computers are assigned with dynamic IP addresses. The gateway is still 0000. I have to provide the gateway here for teachers computers. The sub interface that I have created in this router was fast Ethernet 00.40 assigned with the IP address 40.21.1. So this IP address of the sub interface router will work as the gateway for these three computers. So I have to use the DHCP mode to access the gateway. So in this DHCP I will provide the static gateway for the DHCP server. So this is the static gateway for the DHCP server, so that this DHCP server will be access the sub interface of the router. And now I will go to config and DHCP, and I will provide this gateway value here, so that all these three computers will be able to obtain this gateway value from the server. I have saved the settings. Let me try to access the gateway value from the DHCP server. So for that again I will try to obtain the IP. Check successfully obtained IP address along with the gateway value. Watch out. So requesting for IP address from the DHCP server, and successfully obtain the IP addresses along with the the gateway value. Okay, observe. So all the gateway has been assigned successfully. Fast Ethernet 024 port is belong to default VLAN. Okay, and that VLAN I have used to connect this port. So this port of the switch I have to made it trunk so that this port will be able to communicate with the default VLAN packet. So by applying trunk to this particular port, this port will be the member of all VLAN group. So let us do that. I will again open the terminal, enable config terminal interface FA. So fast Ethernet 024. So I have accessed this particular port where I have connected this cable. So switch port mode access, switch port mode trunk. So I will apply the command switch port mode trunk. So now you can see this particular port having reconfiguration, because again previously this port was belonging to the default VLAN. As I have shifted that particular port under the trunk in Mac table, again the re-registration process is taking place, and this particular port will be the member of all 4 newly created VLAN. So we can be able to send any packet to this port. So okay, let me exit out. Okay, so interface trunk, watch out. So by using this show interface trunk command, I can watch out that this particular port, that is fast Ethernet 024, is the member of all VLAN. You can see this fast Ethernet 24 port can access VLAN allowed active in management domain. So this port is member of all these VLAN. So VLAN 1 is the default VLAN. VLAN 10, 20, 30, 40, all these are newly created VLAN. So this port is member of all VLAN. Okay, let me save it. Okay, exit. So now this port can access packet from any VLAN domain group, because this port is now friend of all VLAN. Just now we have checked by the VLAN, by the command interface. Let us check. I will try to send packet from this particular PC of account department to this computer of sales department. First packet will be rejected, but from next onward you can see successful. So now I will try to send packet from the computer of sales department to another computer of student department. First packet was rejected. From next packet it will be successful. Let me try to send a packet from a machine of a student VLAN to a computer of teacher VLAN. So first packet was rejected, second packet will be successful. So as many packet I will send, so we can communicate among all VLAN. Watch. So now after this lecture, it is clear to you all that why we are going to use VLAN setup and why we are going to configure VLAN setup and implement the process with the router. So by using VLAN we can able to eliminate the cost of the organization by reducing the number of devices. So we need to purchase a minimum number of devices, and by this way we can eliminate the expenses of any organization. So how one single interface port of the router can be utilized for connecting 4 separate networks, and as many number of networks will be able to communicate with single router port by using the VLAN setup. So okay, we have understood today's class successfully. So I will suggest, if by single watch you are not able to understand, I will suggest to watch this video repeatedly and practice the same using Cisco Packet Tracer application. So download the Cisco Packet Tracer application from the internet and practice the same, how to configure VLAN setup using router configuration. So before watching this video, again I will suggest to watch the previous videos. I have prepared 3 separate lecture of VLAN part 1, part 2 and part 3, and 2 separate lecture for router configuration part 1 and router configuration part 2. So watch those videos before watching this particular video, because unless you understand those videos clearly, this video will be a bit more complex for you to understand. So thank you. Let me end today's lecture over here.